Have you ever wondered what happens when the lights finally go out? When the audience they've spent all day performing for is gone, and the silence creeps in. Tonight, we are going to explore the 7 horrifying things God always does to a narcissist at night. It is a time when the mask has to slip, and what is left behind in the dark is truly terrifying to witness. You've seen them during the day. They are loud, arrogant, and seemingly untouchable. They parade around with a false sense of superiority, crushing anyone who dares to see through their carefully crafted illusion. But daylight is their shield. It is the distraction they desperately need to avoid facing the hollow, rotting core of who they actually are behind closed doors. When the sun sets and the distractions fade, a deep, unsettling quiet takes over their world. This isn't the peaceful rest you and I experience after a long day of honest living. For the narcissist, the night is a battlefield. It is the exact moment when the universe, or God, strips away their daily supply, leaving them entirely alone with the ghosts of their actions. The first horrifying thing that happens is the sudden, crushing weight of their own emptiness. Without someone to manipulate, praise them, or fight with, they are forced to sit in a suffocating void. The silence becomes deafening. They try to outrun it by scrolling on their phones or finding late-night drama, but that creeping sense of total nothingness always catches up. This emptiness isn't just boredom. It is a spiritual starvation. They have spent their entire existence feeding off the energy of good people, people exactly like you. But in the dead of night, the pantry is empty. God forces them to feel the sheer gravity of their internal black hole. It is a terrifying realization that without someone else to drain, they do not exist. You might think they sleep peacefully, believing their own lies. But they don't. The second torment is the inescapable replay of their deepest insecurities. When they close their eyes, the grand illusion shatters. Every slight, every perceived rejection, and every moment someone saw through their facade loops endlessly in their mind. They are tortured by their own flaws. It's like a movie they cannot turn off. God uses the stillness of the night to reflect their true image back at them, completely unedited. They cannot gaslight the dark. They cannot project their shame onto the shadows. For a few agonizing hours, they are forced to look at the weak, fragile child hiding behind the monster they have become. And they absolutely hate it. Think about how much energy it takes to maintain a lie. Now imagine maintaining a lie about your very identity every single second of the day. The third thing that happens is a complete physical and psychological collapse. Their nervous system, wired for constant conflict and manipulation, begins to short-circuit. The night brings a profound, exhausting vulnerability. They twitch. They wake up in cold sweats. Their bodies are literally rejecting the toxicity they produce. God designed the human body to heal during sleep, but a narcissist's mind is a war zone. True rest requires peace, and peace requires a clear conscience. Since they have neither, they are denied the restorative sleep that normal, empathetic human beings experience. You have probably spent nights crying over what they did to you, thinking they were out living their best life. Let me assure you, they are not. The justice you seek isn't always public. Sometimes, it happens at 3 a.m. in the deafening silence of their bedroom, where they are trapped in a prison of their own making. And this is only the beginning of their torment. As the night deepens, we reach the fourth horrifying reality, the arrival of paranoia. Narcissists live their lives burning bridges, betraying trust, and destroying those who love them. During the day, they justify this cruelty. But at night, God allows the seeds of severe paranoia to take root. They begin to obsess over who might be plotting against them in the dark. They know deep down that they are frauds. And frauds always live in fear of being discovered. The darkness magnifies this fear 100-fold. Every shadow becomes a threat. They worry about the people they've wronged finally speaking up. They obsess over losing control of their carefully curated narratives. The night turns their guilt into a terrifying, nameless dread. You have to understand that a narcissist's entire survival depends on control. When they are asleep, they have absolutely zero control. The fifth terrifying thing God does is strip them of their dominance. Sleep is the ultimate surrender, and surrender is a narcissist's greatest phobia. They fight sleep because slipping into unconsciousness means letting go of the wheel. This is why so many of them have erratic sleeping patterns. They will stay up until dawn, manic and restless, trying to exhaust themselves so they can just pass out rather than actually transition peacefully into sleep. They are running from the quiet. They are running from the very moments of stillness where God tries to show them the absolute wreckage of their own soul. When they finally do fall asleep, the sixth horrifying event begins, the nightmares. These are not normal bad dreams. These are psychological reckonings. In their dreams, their defenses are completely down. The subconscious mind, guided by divine truth, forces them to experience the profound helplessness they so often inflict on others. They become the helpless victims. Imagine being trapped in a dream where your mask is ripped off in front of the whole world, where everyone you ever lied to suddenly turns away in disgust. These night terrors are a visceral, unavoidable confrontation with their deepest fear, being unlovable and abandoned. God uses these dreams to bypass their ego and strike directly at the core of their fragile psyche. They will wake up gasping for air, their hearts pounding in their chests. For a split second, before their ego can reboot and rebuild the fortress, they feel genuine, unadulterated terror. They feel the exact same anxiety they deliberately caused you. It is a brief, agonizing flash of absolute clarity where they know exactly what they are. And it absolutely terrifies them. But of course, they will never admit this to you. They will never tell you about the cold sweats or the staring at the ceiling for hours. To confess their nighttime torment would mean admitting they are not gods. It would mean acknowledging they have a conscience, even if it only exists to punish them. So they suffer in total secrecy, wearing a fake smile the next day. It is a pathetic, endless cycle. They wake up exhausted, irritable, and desperate for new supply to refill the emotional tank that the night completely drained. Their daytime cruelty is often just a frantic reaction to their nighttime terror. They have to hurt you to prove to themselves that they still hold some kind of power, because the dark proved that they hold nothing. Understanding this psychological breakdown changes everything. You stop seeing them as untouchable villains and start seeing them as haunted, hollow shells. God does not let them get away with the pain they cause. The universe keeps a very strict ledger, and the bill always comes due at midnight. They are paying for their sins in currencies you cannot even begin to see. Let's talk about the seventh and perhaps most devastating thing that happens to them in the dark, the absolute absence of grace. When a normal person makes a mistake, they can pray, reflect, and find a sense of forgiveness. But a narcissist rejects accountability. Because they refuse to repent or admit fault, they are cut off from the divine comfort of genuine peace. They are spiritually quarantined. God leaves them entirely to their own devices. Imagine being locked in a dark room with the worst parts of yourself, and the only key is genuine humility, a key you refuse to touch. That is their nightly reality. They reach out into the spiritual void looking for comfort, but all they feel is the cold, hard wall of their own massive ego. This is the turning point in understanding your abuser. You have spent so much time wishing they would feel remorse, wishing they would just apologize and make it right. But look closely at what is happening to them. Their refusal to feel remorse is exactly what seals their doom. Their punishment is perfectly tailored. They are eternally trapped inside their own sick minds. Think about the sheer horror of never being able to escape yourself. You can leave a toxic relationship. You can pack your bags, block their number, and start a beautiful new life. But they cannot leave themselves. Wherever they go, the night follows. The silence follows. The rotting, decaying reality of their true self follows them into every new bed and every new house. And as time goes on, the nighttime torment only accelerates. In their younger years, they might have easily distracted themselves with superficial charm, alcohol, or a revolving door of new partners. But age is a narcissist's absolute worst enemy. As their looks fade and their tricks become predictable, the supply dries up. The nights get longer, and the silence gets much louder. They start to realize that their entire life has been a massive, exhausting performance for an audience that no longer cares. The grand finale isn't a standing ovation, it is an empty theater. The terror of irrelevance crashes down on them in the darkness. God strips away their false idols, leaving them staring at the horrifying fact that they never truly loved anyone at all. It is a chilling scene to visualize. Picture them sitting on the edge of the bed, staring into the dark, feeling the absolute futility of their existence. All the lies they told, all the people they destroyed, for what? To end up completely alone, unable to even comfort themselves. It is a profound, tragic waste of a human life, unfolding silently while the rest of the world sleeps. You might feel a flicker of pity for them right now. You are empathetic, so it is natural to hurt when you see another human suffering. But let me stop you right there. Do not waste your precious empathy on someone who would gladly use your warmth to start a fire just to watch you burn. Their suffering is not a cry for your help. It is the natural consequence of their pure evil. Their pain in the dark does not magically make them better people in the light. In fact, it usually makes them much worse. A wounded narcissist is a dangerous animal. The more terrified they are at night, the more viciously they will attack during the day to overcompensate. Never confuse their internal agony with a desire to heal. They do not want to heal, they want to hide. This realization sets you free. You finally understand that you were never the problem. You were just a temporary shield they used to block out the terror of their own reflection. When they discarded you, they weren't rejecting your worth. They were violently pushing you away because your genuine light made their internal darkness far too obvious for them to ignore anymore. Let's dive deeper into the collapse. What happens when these horrifying nighttime rituals compound over years and decades? The human mind can only compartmentalize so much trauma before it buckles. The narcissist begins to experience a slow, agonizing psychological fragmentation. The mask doesn't just slip anymore. It begins to crack permanently, right down the middle. Their cognitive dissonance becomes entirely unmanageable. They are desperately trying to hold onto the delusion of their own perfection, while God violently reminds them of their depravity every single night. This creates a deeply unstable mental state. You will start to see them slip up. Their lies become incredibly sloppy. Their sudden rages become completely unhinged. The people around them finally start to notice the cracks. The charming facade looks strained, tired, and deeply unnatural. The narcissist senses this shift, which only feeds their nighttime paranoia. It is a vicious, inescapable downward spiral. They are drowning, but instead of reaching for a lifeline of therapy or honesty, they just try to drag innocent people down with them. The physical toll of this spiritual war is undeniable. Look closely at an aging narcissist. You can quite literally see the bitterness etched into their facial features. The lack of restful sleep, the chronic stress of maintaining a false self, and the absolute absence of inner peace ages them terribly. Their body becomes a physical monument to the toxic secrets they keep inside. They develop ailments born of chronic anxiety. Their digestive systems fail. Their hearts grow weak. God and nature are working together to shut down the machine that produces so much pain. It is incredibly tragic, yet completely just. They spent their lives draining the health and sanity of good people, and now their own bodies are turning against them in the quiet of the night. At this stage, they are utterly trapped. They cannot go backward and undo the immense damage they have caused, because that would require crushing accountability. But they also cannot move forward, because they have destroyed every genuine connection that could support them in their old age. They are stranded in a terrible purgatory, waiting for a dawn that brings them no relief. This is the ultimate collapse. It isn't a sudden, dramatic explosion that everyone gets to witness. It is a slow, quiet, humiliating decay behind closed doors. It is the grim realization that they have outsmarted absolutely no one, least of all God. The universe is incredibly patient. It lets them play their wicked little games, knowing the trap is already set for them at the end. You must stop waiting for a dramatic apology or a public downfall. The consequences of their actions are already happening in a dimension you cannot see. The justice is silent, but it is absolute. Every tear you cried in confusion, every night you spent wondering if you were going crazy, all of it has been accounted for. The scales of justice are balancing while they try to sleep. They thought they could manipulate the rules of human morality without ever paying the toll. But nobody escapes the truth forever. The night is God's courtroom, and the narcissist is on trial every single evening. There is no jury to charm, no judge to bribe, and no victim to gaslight. It is just them, the crushing weight of reality, and the absolute horror of their own soul. Knowing this should bring you a profound sense of peace. You do not need to seek revenge. You do not need to expose them to the world. Their punishment is already perfectly integrated into their daily existence. All you have to do is entirely remove yourself from their blast radius. Let them fight their unseen demons alone. Your only job now is to rebuild your own beautiful life. We have walked through the darkness of their minds, but now it is time to step into your light. The transition from surviving a narcissist to truly thriving requires a fundamental shift in your perspective. You have to stop looking backward at the wreckage they caused and start looking at the incredible strength it took for you to survive it. You walked through the fire and survived. You are not damaged goods. You are not broken beyond repair. The fact that you feel deeply, love fiercely, and possess empathy is exactly why they targeted you in the first place. You have the one thing they can never, ever have: a genuine, beautiful soul. They tried to steal your light because they are trapped in eternal darkness. But your light still belongs entirely to you. God allowed you to see behind their mask not to punish you, but to protect you. The trauma bond you experienced was excruciating, but it was also a profound awakening. You now possess a level of emotional intelligence and boundary setting that makes you incredibly powerful. You can spot the red flags from a mile away. You are no longer prey, you are a wise, protected warrior. As you heal, you must radically forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for believing their lies. Forgive yourself for staying longer than you should have. You were operating on the assumption that they had a heart just like yours. That wasn't stupidity, that was humanity. You gave them the benefit of the doubt because you are a good person. Never lose that goodness just because they are evil. Let them have their restless nights. Let them toss and turn in their self-made prisons. You have a different destiny. Your nights are meant for deep, restorative rest. When you lay your head on the pillow, you can do so with a clear, beautiful conscience. You know who you are. You know you have tried your hardest, loved with all your heart, and fought bravely for your own peace. The healing journey is not perfectly linear. There will still be nights where the memories hit you, where the ghost of their manipulation tries to whisper in your ear. But when that happens, you now know the truth. You just remind yourself of the pathetic, terrified reality of who they are in the dark. Their voice has absolutely no power over you anymore. The spell is completely broken. You are stepping into a chapter of incredible freedom. The energy you used to waste trying to decode their madness is now yours to invest entirely in yourself. Build the life they told you that you could never have. Laugh loudly, love authentically, and surround yourself with people who celebrate your spirit instead of slowly draining it. Success is the ultimate form of rebellion. They will eventually realize that they lost the best thing that ever happened to them. But by the time they figure it out, you will be completely unreachable. You will be so high up on your mountain of healing that their desperate attempts to pull you back down will look like the frantic flailing of a toddler. You are untouchable now. You are guarded by truth, wisdom, and divine grace. Close your eyes tonight and take a very deep, slow breath. Feel the absolute stillness of your room. That peace is your birthright. It is the one thing they would trade all their fake charm and stolen power to experience for just 1 second. But it belongs to you. You survived the darkest night of your soul, and the morning has finally arrived. The nightmare is over. You are totally safe. Remember this the next time you wonder if they are happy without you. Happiness requires a soul, and theirs is bankrupt. You didn't lose them, they lost you. And while they spend the rest of their miserable lives fighting God in the terrifying silence of the dark, you get to wake up tomorrow and live in the beautiful, undeniable warmth of the sun. Sleep well because you finally won.